14th of November, Rabbi Levitt, Gomorrah.
Hey. Good morning, Phil. Good morning. Welcome back to everybody. We are here for Bava Kama. And the only question is, where are we holding?
8882, the bottom left paragraph. That's what I have marked.
Oh, we did with the Melech. That's what we did.
Under sentence disqualified in monarchy because
it says Mikera B'Achecha.
yeah.
Oh, so then we had the question of Elamiata Rabbonin Yehei Eved Kosher Le'edis. Okay, I think that's where we're up to. Okay, so this is, see where this is?
I have 8882, the bottom left.
It's actually the first words on the line, Ela Mi'ata,
Yeah.
about 20 lines down from the top. Okay, so we're in the middle of the two opinions of the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda. What's the definition of achva? And now we're going to ask, according to the view of the Rabbanan, that say that achva refers to the fact that the Eved is achiv the mitzvahs, so he has achva with Klal Yisrael, so he's considered to be a brother. So according to that, Gomorrah is asking the question that's asking over here. So we go to Alan. Would you like to start off the reading, Alan?
Yeah. So the Gomorrah again challenges the Torah Kama's opinion. Anywhere may a Torah, but now the Rabbanan, according to the rabbis, who include slaves in the classification of brother, Yehei Eved Kosher Le'edus, a slave should be qualified for giving testimony. Difsi, Hine Ad Sheker, or age Sheker, Anor or Chel. It was written, and behold, the witness is a false witness. He has testified falsely against his brother. Why is a slave, in fact, disqualified from testifying? The Gomorrah answers, Omar Ula. Ula said, Edus lo mortzi or murat. You cannot say that a slave is eligible to give testimony. Asyor Edus Bakal, the Chomer me Ishor, because his disqualification for testimony is derived through a Chomer argument from a case of a woman as followed. Uma Ishor, since a woman, Shehi, who is fit to enter the congregation in matrimony, but Sula Edus is nevertheless disqualified for giving testimony as a then regarding a slave. Who is not fit to enter the congregation. A no din for Sul the Edus is not logical that he too is disqualified for testimony.
Okay. So step one, the Gomorrah has a kasha, according to Rabbanan. And according to Rabbanan, the Eved should be kosher le'edus. Why should he be kosher le'edus? Because of this pasuk by Edim Zomim. What do we see by Edim Zomim? It says, Hine Eid Sheker ha'ed sheker ana ba'achiv. The witness, he's falsely answered in regard to his brother. So we see from that that the pasuk is referring to Achiv, his brother. So we see that as long as the person that he's testifying about is regarded as his brother, so he would qualify to be a witness. And this Eved is considered to be a brother of that person that he's testifying about, according to Rabbanan, because he's got mitzvahs, just like his brother has, just like this person he's testifying against has. Okay, so that's okay, and of course the kasha is the unspoken kasha is that we know that an Eved is pasula edus. We know that Eved Kanani is not accepted as a valid witness. Okay. So now, what is the answer that Ula gives?
I don't get this. I don't understand the Kol V'chomer. What does the fact that he can or cannot marry have to do with giving testimony?
Okay, so we're saying that edus lo matzisama. You can't say that he's going to be kosher edus. Because we can prove that he's not acceptable for edus. Why? How do we prove that? Because we're going to prove from Isha, even though Isha has she has a mila to her. What's the mila of a Jewish woman? That she is roy levoba kahal. She is his. She can marry into the congregation of fully fledged Jewish men. So that's a mila that she has, a strength that she has, a positive attributes, let's call it, and in fact, it was the way that Rebbe Yehuda defined achva. True, the Rabbanan don't define it as such, but Rebbe Yehuda defines achva as whether the person is roy lavoba kahal, and a woman is roy lavoba kahal, and nevertheless we see that she is psula le'edus. She's psula le'edus. So therefore, we're making a kal v'chomer. We're saying then, if so, then all the more so an Eved who himself does not have that same positive, strong attributes which connects him to the Jewish people, that he's able to marry a full-fledged Jewess. He's not able to do that. So he really, we would say, is in a lower status than a Isha in that regard. And if so the Gomorrah, so the Ula is reasoning Eno din that shepasula edis? Isn't it all the more so that we should say about an Eved that if he doesn't really even measure up to the status of an Isha, then we know that an Isha is not accepted in cases of Dine Mominus, at least in cases of monetary cases for being a witness. So all the more so that an Eved Kanani should not be accepted either.
So here's my problem. The classic example of a kol v'chomer. John is stronger than Fred. If Fred can lift this rock, kol v'chomer, John can lift this rock. Now, strength has something to do with lifting. So that logic of that kol v'chomer makes sense to me. But if you said John can eat 15 eggs and Fred can only eat 10 eggs, therefore, if Fred can lift this rock, John can lift this rock, I'd say, what does eating eggs have to do with lifting a rock?
Okay, but here we're bringing an attribute that a woman has.
But what does that have to do with testifying? The fact that she can marry, what does that have to do with testifying?
Okay, so you have to understand that what it has to do with testifying is because we see from the pasuk that it says by Edim Zomim, it says that was the source of who is capable to be who's capable to testify. Who's capable to testify? That he has to have achva with the one that he's testifying about. So we see that achva is the factor. That's the koveya. That's the determining factor that determines his kashrus for edus. He has to have achva.
But the rabbis have already said we defined achba as the fact that he has mitzvahs.
Okay, so but true. Okay, so that's an interesting question, but the way I would understand it is that okay, so now you're saying something totally different now than what you were saying before. You're not anymore saying it has nothing to do with it. It does have something to do with it, but you're saying, but according to Rabbanan, it doesn't make any difference. So you're asking a question on the Rabbanan based upon the view of what Rabbi Yehuda holds to be achva. So the Rabbanan will say back to you, they'll say, but according to us, the fact that the woman is roy lavo b'kahal, that's not that doesn't have anything to do with achva. So we don't accept that. But probably the logic is that here we've got two different factors. What the Rabbanan, when they say that the Eved has achva because he's achiv hu b'mitzvahs, do they necessarily mean to deny that somebody who's roy lavo b'kahal doesn't have any achva? It could very well be that the logic is that the Rabbanan would agree that that's called achva. But what they're saying is, even if in the case of an Eved Kanani, who he doesn't even have that ability, he doesn't have that mila, doesn't have that strong suit to him to connect him to the Jewish people, that he can marry a full-fledged Jewess. Even though he doesn't have that, the Rabbanan say he's still considered to have achva because of his obligation in mitzvahs. But what we're saying over here, though, is that the Rabbanan would certainly not be able to deny that a person who is roy lavo b'kahal, that certainly is a factor, and certainly is it certainly may be sufficient even to say that the person has achva, that he could marry into the Jewish people. All the Rabbanan are saying is that we'll tell you that you don't even need that. It's enough that you're achiv hu b'mitzvahs, and therefore the Eved is called that he has achva with the rest of the Jewish people. So if that's the way the Rabbanan understand, so then the Rabbanan won't be able to say over here, oh, what is the fact that the woman is roy lavo b'kahal, that she's able to marry into the Jewish people? What does that have to do with achva? Of course it has to do with achva. The Rabbanan don't deny that. They just say that it's even a lesser, even something less than that, or even something even if we don't have that, that we could do it with mitzvahs. They could be considered to be achva. So in that sense, the Gomorrah, the Ula is and really what's happening over here, this is what Ula is saying. Ula is really what he's doing is that he is really defending the Rabbanan, because the Gomorrah is asking a question on the Rabbanan. And Ula is saying, no, the Rabbanan, it's not difficult on the Rabbanan. The Gomorrah asked the question, according to you, Rabbanan, who you say that the factor is whether he's got mitzvahs. So if so, then an Eved should be a kosher witness. And we know that he's not. On that, Ula says, no, the Rabbanan, don't ask a question like that on the Rabbanan. An Eved is, the Rabbanan would agree that an Eved is not kosher as a witness. Why? How do you know that? Because it's a kal v'chomer. Certainly, the Rabbanan would agree that he's in a lower situation in regard to roy lavo b'kahal, with as opposed to in comparison to an isha, and we know that an isha is not accepted as a witness because I think Rashi is going to tell us it's a pasuk. It's really a gezeres hakasuv. It's a pasuk. It says that when the two anashim stand up to give testimony, so the Gemara understood that it is referring to only men and not to women. So it's a gezeres hakasuv. But in any case, the women are pasul, even though they're roy lavo b'kahal, and so all the more so the Rabbanan would agree that that if someone who is roy lavo b'kahal is also not accepted as a witness, then the Eved also he's not even roy lavo b'kahal. So it should be a kal v'chomer that he should not be roy le'edus.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that it's not roy lavo I can't remember. It's not that she can remarry per se. It's that the fact that she can remarry makes her a brother, so to speak. And therefore,
Yes, you're saying that the Rabbanan would agree to that point.
Since she is a brother and the slave is not a brother, therefore kol v'chomer. But you can't say the slave is not a brother because according to the rabbis, the slave is a brother. So it sounds like what you're saying is since she is, quote, higher than the slave because she can marry and he can't, then since she can't testify, how much more so he can't testify. And I have trouble with that because the fact that she's higher, what's the relevance of that?
So the Rabbanan agree that she has in other words, what I'm saying is the Rabbanan agree that that she can marry into the Jewish congregation. The Rabbanan don't deny that is certainly a factor in her having achva.
She can marry. So since she can, but she can't testify. So he can marry. So surely he shouldn't be able to testify. That's the kal v'chomer.
Yeah, but what Lou is saying is the Rabbanan. Lou's argument is based upon the fact that the Rabbanan say, well, we don't think that that a person has the ability to marry into the Jewish people. We don't think that has anything to do with them being achva, because we hold that an eved is part of the Jewish people. Why? Because even if he can't marry, but he's achiv b'mitzvahs. So that's the most important factor. That's the factor. And if so, if that would be correct, if that would be the way the Rabbanan look at it, then I would agree with you that you have a question. You have a question. It's not a good. It's not the Rabbanan don't agree to that. The Rabbanan don't agree that factor is a factor that determines achba. But what I'm saying is that that it doesn't seem to me that the Rabbanan would disagree that that's a factor. All the Rabbanan are saying is that even if a person does not have this mila, this strength that connects them to the Jewish people because they are capable of marrying a full-fledged Jew or Jewess, depending upon of course, their gender, right? They have to be, right? We're not getting into that, but they even though that is that they don't deny that is a factor. All that they say is that the Eved himself, he's not denied the factor of being achva, even though he doesn't have that strength to him. He doesn't have that strength to him. He can be considered achva because he's achiv b'mitzvahs. Let's take a look at what Rashi says over here. Rashi has two Rashis over here. The first Rashi is Edis lo motzis amart, and then we have a Rashi of Psula le'edis. One's a short one, one's a long one.
Edis lo motzi amarta. Edis, it doesn't say. We don't find it saying.
Edis.
Well, it's lo motzi. You're not.
That's what. In other words, that's the first words of Ula.
Right.
Edis lo motzis amart.
You cannot say he can.
You cannot say that an Eved
does Edis. The elo nafkalan, because if we don't learn from this, Basula me'achicha, that he's Basul from his brother, that Tite Makala the Kal v'chomer. You should learn it out from the Kal v'chomer.
Edis lo motzisamat. You cannot say, says Ula, even though according to the Rabbanan the Eved is called Achiv, but you cannot say that he's kosher la'edis. The Rabbanan would agree that he's not kosher la'edis.
But he said that this Rashi is saying, if you can't learn it out from that he's sold from his brother, then learn it out from derive it from a Kal V'chomer. It's if this doesn't work, well, now the Kal V'chomer should work.
Yeah, even though Rashi says, even though you cannot derive that an Eved is pasul la'edis from the pasuk of Achicha, because he is because he's has achba tasting a kal v'chomer. You can nevertheless derive it from a kal v'chomer. Okay, that sounds like we're saying that right? That in other words, the way that we're going to say that an Eved is pasul la'edis, we're not going to be able to say it's because he's not called Achicha. We're not going to be able to say that. But nevertheless, even though we don't say that he's not Achicha, nevertheless, we're going to learn from as a Kal V'chomer that he should be pasul la'edis. How are we going to do that? That's the next Rashi.
Pasul la'edus. He's invalid to testify. Dichsev gabe edim zomamim. It said regarding false witnesses. V'amdu shnei ha'anashim. Two people stand up. Vitanya b'Shavuos, and we learned in a brisa in Shavuos, be'edim zomim, with false witnesses, hakasuv mi davar demashma anashim, that it's written in the matter of deriving men below nashim and not women. Katan nami, a child also, mehachi, from here, nafkalan, learn from it, dichsiv anashim, that it's written men below kitanim, and it's not written children. V'od de edus she'i ata yachol, and furthermore, testimony that you are able lahazima, to refute, he de lav bar onshin hu. He is not subject to penalty.
Right. Okay, that's a side point that would seem to be irrelevant to our discussion over here, but it seems that Rashi just wants to explain this brisa in Shavuos, that he's explaining that from the pasuk that it says v'amdu ha'anoshim, amdu shnei ha'anoshim, that we were going to exclude nashim as well as a katan. And he's just making the point that there's another reason really why a katan would be excluded from being given the right to give edus, because he's not a bar onshim. he's not capable of being punished. And we know a rule when it comes to edis, that edis shiataya cholazima, the edis which is not capable of making into edim zomamim, they have no efficacy, they have no kashrus to be an aid. So that would seem to be a point just for a cotton, which we're really not so interested in over here. So at the end of the day, Rashi is just showing us the source for where we know that that nashim are pasula edis. That's the Rashi is saying. If you want to know where we know that from, we know it from this Gomorrah in Shavuos, this brisa that darshans this pasuk,
which has nothing to do with brotherhood.
Well, that's the point. The point is that even on the tzad, exactly, we see that, in other words, in order to be a witness, it doesn't matter. One second. Yeah, this is a bit tricky over here. This is a bit tricky, it really is.
Very tricky.
Because Rashi just told us in the first Rashi that even if we're not going to say that the Eved is excluded because of the pasuk of Achicha, which sounds like we're talking about Achdus, about Achva, brotherhood. Nevertheless, we could find a way to invalidate him as a witness. And so even what's happening over here is that even though what we're saying, this is what we're saying. We're saying the focus over here does not focus on, and this is going to be your question. So I'm going to have to answer that question, but let's take it in the steps. What we're saying is really, nashim, they have achba. Avodim, according to the Rabbanan, they also have achba. And the Gomorrah thought to say that, look at this pasuk here by Edim Zomamim. We had a pasuk that says that as long as he has brotherhood with the one that he's testifying about, so it sounds like he's capable of being a witness. So according to that, says the Gomorrah, the Rabbanan who say that an Eved has achba, so he should be a kosher aid, and we know that he's not. On that, what Ula is saying, and Rashi, I think now I'm understanding, is saying that true, because there's two requirements over here in order to be a witness. One requirement is you have to have achba. Now, both nashim and Eved have achba. Okay, but what the Gemara is saying is, but we know that Isha is pasula edis. Why is she pasula edis? She's not pasula edis because she's not achba. She is achba. But nevertheless, she is pasul. You know why she's pasul? Because the pasuk says the amdu shnei ho'anashim, and that excludes nashim. That's the reason why she's pasul, even though she has achba. So over here, what we're saying is that an isha is excluded even though she has achba. Even though she is royal levopa kahal, she has achba. And now Eved, no, we are pinning the Gomorrah. The Ula seems to be pinning the fact that the Eved is not Roy Levo B'Kahal. That's the reason why. And now what's bothering me really is that now what is the reason why an Isha is excluded? The Isha is excluded because
he's not a man.
What?
Because she's not a man.
Yeah. But Ula says that the Eved, the reason why he's excluded is because he doesn't even have this mila of being Roy Levo B'Kahal, that he could marry into the Jewish people.
Right.
And so it would seem that the Gomorrah, it would seem that Ula is saying is that even though she has this mile of being Roy Levo B'Kahal, she's excluded because of the pasuk of Amdu Shnei Anoshim that excludes Nashim.
Right.
And,
we should not exclude a male Eved.
right. So that's so this is correct, that the Eved is not excluded because of this pasuk. He's not excluded because of this pasuk.
Right.
Rashi says he's excluded because we have a Kal V'chomer. Ula is making a Kal V'chomer. If a Isha who is the weighty one, she's Roy Levo B'Kahal. The Eved is not. So if the Isha who has this weighty Mila, she has this powerful positive attribute that connects her to the Jewish people, that she can marry into the Jewish people, and nevertheless she is excluded from being a witness, then an Eved who doesn't have that, he doesn't have that attribute of being connected to the Jewish people by virtue of being able to marry into the Jewish people. So even though it's true, he is called Achva according to Rabbanan, but nevertheless the Rabbanan can't deny that he doesn't have this positive Mila. And if you'll say, oh, but the Rabbanan don't regard that as being relevant at all, to that we would say that, like I was saying before, that Rabbanan certainly do regard it as being relevant, but it certainly is a Mila. It certainly is a strong connector to being connected to the Jewish people. But they say that it's not necessary in order to have a status of being connected to the Jewish people. You could also connect yourself to the Jewish people through obligation and mitzvahs, and so therefore they'll hold the Rabbanan that an Eved does have achva. But Ula is saying that the Rabbanan would not deny the fact that the ability to marry into the Jewish people is certainly a positive, strong thing that connects one to the Jewish people. So if a woman who has that and she's excluded from being a witness, so all the more so an Eved who doesn't even have that strong connector to the Jewish people, all he has is obligation and mitzvahs. All the more so that he would be excluded as a witness.
We got to quit.
Okay. All the best to everybody. Yashikoyach.
Thank you. Well,
Have a good day. Bracha v'atzlacha.
You too.
Amen.
10 to 4.
10 to 4.